Welcome back here, Whole 9 Yards on a Monday afternoon. Drew Pien here with Brandon Krikorian. It's been about, 4 or 5 days since we recorded. Brandon, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, it's draft week, so it's a good week.
I'm excited for the draft. I really am. I think it's going to be a great event. I guess we haven't really figured out exactly what we're doing, but I think we plan to live stream it. I'm not exactly sure on the technicalities of everything, but if we live stream it, it would be on the YouTube channel. Maybe we would throw up like a Twitch link as well. Not too sure, but definitely on the YouTube. So yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just get into stuff. Like last episode we did that. I thought of doing this Sporkle quiz. This episode we're gonna do the exact same thing, but this is one that we both didn't do any preparation for. It's draft picks since 2000, the first overall pick since 2000. Ideally, the Sporkle quiz is somewhere on the screen. If it's not, but it should be. So we'll just get into it. It's out of 21. Technically, this quiz stops at 2019. I'm not exactly too sure. I guess it was just made before 2020, but it gives us 4 minutes. So I guess it's not a lot of time.
4 minutes, okay.
So, okay. I'm going to hit start, and then we'll just start from 2019 and go down, or try to at least. So, all right. It's not letting me hit play. Nice. It's not letting me hit play. All right. Now it is. Okay. All right, so 2020 is Burrow, but for some reason, okay, that's not on the quiz, but so 2019 is Murray.
Yeah.
2018, and this is where I think we just list off random
Baker.
years. Okay, yep.
Baker, yeah.
Garrett is somewhere in there.
Miles Garrett's 2017. 2016's Goff.
15 is, it's going to be bad. 4 minutes is
This
not
is going to be bad. This actually will be pretty bad.
I
know 2014's Clowney.
Okay.
So that's 2014.
I just threw in Vic because I knew Vic was in there.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just going to throw in random names. I know Stafford's in there.
Yeah. David Carr is going to be in there.
Carr, so is Russell, Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. Eric Fisher is going to be in there.
Fisher.
I think he was 2013.
2013, yep.
I know I'm pretty sure didn't the Jaguars draft an offensive lineman first overall?
I think that was in that exact same draft. That was
Or was he the second overall
pick? I think he was the second overall pick.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is gonna get ugly.
This is gonna get ugly. Okay, we kind of know.
Goff was 16. So
yeah, he was 16.
So 15's who?
Winston.
Yeah. Yep.
Look, a lot of these are gonna be quarterbacks. It's gonna be quarterbacks, offensive linemen, and probably a defensive lineman. Honestly, that's probably the 3 only choices.
Yeah, I resumed the quiz just to give us a little bit more time because it's literally only 2 minutes left. Or I paused it, but I'm resuming it again.
Yeah, we'll try and do the time, but we'll probably go a little bit after it anyways. And then once we get stuck, we'll just stop.
2012.
Well, Andrew Luck's gonna be there. I don't know. Was he?
Luck is 2012.
He's 2012. Okay,
yep.
there.
Yeah, this is way tougher than I thought when I'm getting put on the spot. I feel like I should know these way better than I do.
Yeah, there's gonna be some that are just so obvious.
Sue. Wait, Sue's not putting. Wait, no, Sue didn't go number 1. Oh, that was Newton.
Yeah.
I think Sue went in that draft. I think he was 3 maybe.
Because Miller was also in that draft. That was 2011.
Who was before Newton but after Stafford? I think Von Miller was 2010, but he wasn't first. Or was he in the
No, he was in the Cam. He was in the Cam draft. He went 5th or something.
I should get way more of these. 2008, 2006, 05, 04, 03, 2000.
Which ones do we have left?
10, 08, 06, 05, 04, 03, and 2000.
10, 08, 06. Who?
2010.
I mean, I'm trying to think.
I am too, and I just have no clue. I feel like I think I'm gonna. I mean, I'm obviously gonna know the players once they show up on the screen in about like 38 seconds. Um,
Uh,
2010. Like, who had the first overall pick that year? It wasn't the Lions. Was it the Jaguars or the Browns?
I don't.
I just don't know why I
I
don't.
don't know. I don't think it was. Before the time ends, pause it right before.
Yeah, I
So
did.
give us a couple more minutes.
I
But
did.
I mean, like, did Matt Leinart go number? Oh, Vince Young.
I think Leinart and no, Leinart didn't, but I think Vince Young did, right? Nope.
He didn't go number 1.
Um. What year did Mark Sanchez get drafted? Was that 2010? But he didn't.
He wasn't
didn't,
first
he didn't
overall.
go first. But I'm just trying to think of who went before him. What stud receivers went? I don't think any receivers
I
went.
don't think receivers going first. Like, here, I'm gonna say this guy, and I don't think he went. I think he may have. But did Mario Williams go number 1?
I think he did actually. I think you're right. Yeah, he went first in 2006.
Yeah.
That's a snipe. Wow. I don't think I
Because I was thinking of him the whole time, but I was like, did he go number 1? I was trying to think, and I thought he did, but yeah. All right, so that's 1. So what, we just have 10, 08, 2002, and 2000? Is that what it is?
It's 10, 08, 05, 04, 03, and 2000.
Oh.
There's 10 seconds left, and I have to resume every time I put a name in, so that's about as much. We've got like 11 seconds of typing time left. I want to get 2010 because I just feel like we know that one.
The thing is, we got to think of the teams that were bad back. Like, who was the worst team in 2010? You know.
I mean, we have our usual candidates, but I don't think it's one of them.
Yeah, like I think the Browns, I mean, obviously they picked Baker, but like honestly, I don't think they've really had a number 1 overall pick, you know, besides Baker. I don't think, even for how bad they've been. So
Well, Garrett, but yeah.
Well, yeah. But the years before, yeah.
2010. So it was before Newton and after Stafford. It has to be like a defensive player.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it's a quarterback. I mean, what defensive player would that have been? Even it could have been offensive line.
I don't think it was O-line, though. I feel like I would know it. Actually, I don't know, but I don't think it was O-line. This is like really annoying because I feel like I should definitely know this, but
I don't know.
2010. I mean, we can let it run out, or it's up to you. 2000. I don't know.
Wait.
So
was Alex Smith? Wasn't Alex
Alex
Smith pick number 1?
Yep. He was somewhere in there. He was like 2006, maybe 2006 or 2005. 2005. There's literally 3 seconds left, so there's like I have enough time to type in a name.
All right, I guess we'll go for one more name then.
Yeah, 2010. I literally thought I was gonna get like almost all of these, and I've probably said like 5 of these names, if that, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like I've done a lot better than I thought. I knew the early 2000s I wouldn't get a lot. I just don't remember it. But 2010s, it just seems like when you read the name, I feel like we're just gonna be like, why didn't we get that?
NCAA football covers. I mean, like who are on those
Yeah.
covers? Reggie Bush didn't go first overall once, but who was first overall in that draft? Like, who was that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right,
really
I'm just gonna let it run out, and we'll see. All right. Sam Bradford was 2010.
Yeah.
Jake Long was 2008. That was the Matt Ryan draft. So that was an offensive lineman.
I wouldn't have gotten that.
Eli Manning in 2004, Carson Palmer in 2003, and Courtney Brown in 2000. So the only one,
the Eli one, that was.
I feel like the only one I shouldn't. Definitely the only person I've legitimately not heard of is Courtney Brown, but that makes sense because that was before I was alive.
The Eli one, we should have got. I was thinking of it, and I just, for some reason, I didn't think he went number one. I don't know why I didn't think that, but I just thought he didn't.
Man, that's one of like the
Bradford, that one.
We should have got all of them except for Courtney Brown, honestly.
Yeah. Jake Long, I wouldn't have thought of Jake Long. I just wouldn't have thought of that.
I wouldn't have thought of Jake Long, but if I thought of Matt Ryan, I would have thought of Jake Long. And I just didn't think of Matt Ryan.
So I would, yeah.
I feel like I just choked so hard in that quiz. We still got a 75%. The average score is a 71. But, I mean, that's also, like, we're also two people. So, yeah. I don't know. It was definitely should have done better, but.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was that. So we'll just get into, like, actual football stuff that's been happening recently, with the draft at least. Report that basically the Niners are down to two quarterbacks at 3. Fields is not one of those. It's either Lance or it is Jones. To me, not actually thinking about who I actually think is going to be the best NFL quarterback, but you have Lance, who is your project guy. He's going to take a year, maybe 2 on the bench to really, for an organization to feel great about putting him in the starting lineup. And you have Jones, who's been at least touted as the ready to go guy in the draft, except for probably Lawrence. He's probably more ready to go, but whatever. If you're the Niners, it makes sense to draft the project guy just because you have Garoppolo. You have Lance sit for a year. You assess in the next offseason. You say, all right, is Lance good enough to go? If yes, you can get rid of Garoppolo and start Lance. If not, you can play Garoppolo for another year and keep Lance on the bench, and after 2 years, he'd probably be ready to go. Jones, you're probably starting Garoppolo for what, like half a season, if that? I mean, like, I just don't understand the point of drafting Jones. To me, Jones is that Kirk Cousins guy. He's going to be similar to Garoppolo, really. I mean, he's about as athletic as Garoppolo, maybe a little bit more. But I just don't see the upside in trading up all those picks to draft Jones. So, I mean, what's your...
Yeah, that report came out last night. I mean, we kind of thought that it was going to be Jones, maybe not Lance as much as maybe like a Fields, but definitely Jones. So for them when a source like that kind of comes out, I think it was Rappaport who said that, and he said several sources have said Jones and Lance. It seems pretty, confirmed that it's going to be one of the two. So yeah, it definitely is still surprising though that Fields isn't the guy there. And obviously they're going with whatever Shanahan wants, and clearly he wants rather Lance or Jones. I think both of them are. I think Lance obviously is the higher ceiling I just think over Jones, between them two, he clearly is the higher ceiling. But you're right, he's more of a project guy. So would he sit the whole year? Would he come in at some point for Garoppolo? Like what exactly are you doing with Lance for this season? And Jones, it's similar, but you're right, he'd probably come in halfway through the season. I mean, he wouldn't start this season, so is he coming halfway through? If Garoppolo's playing well, do you just keep Garoppolo in? Like, it's a weird situation that they kind of put themselves in almost. So I mean, I like Fields more than Jones and Lance, but it's for some reason Fields just isn't the guy, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but Fields it seems like everyone's not in love with him.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's a case of if he's actually bad or if teams are just kind of overthinking it. To me, he's still the second or third best quarterback in the draft. And if he's not going to be taken in the top 3, then I would want the Patriots to probably trade up and draft him. Obviously, if Belichick doesn't like him, then okay, then yeah, don't. But from my perspective, I would like to see that. I think taking Lance is fine if you are the 49ers, just because, I mean, like I said, he's the project guy, and I think he has potential. But if you're the Niners, why are you trading up that far and giving up so many picks, so much assets, to not even know who you're taking third overall? Because when you're third, right? I mean, the Jaguars are taking Lawrence and the Jets are taking Wilson. You shouldn't have to disguise who you're taking third. You shouldn't have to do any of this. And I don't think this is this isn't a game anymore. Like, this is definitely the Niners actually don't know who they want to draft third. To me, I just think that's, you may think you like the quarterback options 3, but what if you trade up, right, thinking you're going to draft a quarterback, and then you're like, I just don't, I'm not in love with, what if Shanahan's just like, I'm not in love with any of these guys? I mean, then you just wasted all that stuff you traded up. You traded up first, you traded up a bunch of other stuff. It's just a waste.
Yeah.
And, if it just, I don't hate the move to trade up from 12 to 3. I don't love it really either, but I don't hate it. But if you don't know who you're taking at 3, that just, why? You know what I mean?
Well, it begs the question, when they were at 12, why didn't they trade with the Lions at 7? It's not as much to give up to go from 12 to 7 as it was from 12 to 3. And if you wanted Jones or Lance, I would suppose that both of them would be there at 7, at least one of them, most likely Jones and Lance, if a team were to, leapfrog them at 7. But I feel like that would have made way better sense, that you don't have to give up as much. You're trading with the Lions, a team that didn't need a quarterback, so obviously they'd probably be willing to trade down, and it's only to 12. It's not that far, and you would still get one of the 2 guys that you were looking at. So it's definitely, there's a lot of question marks, and them still not knowing who exactly they want. It seemed like they wanted Jones, and then they were interested in Lance after his second pro day, so they're flip-flopping between guys, and it just seems, it's just I don't know, it's just a weird situation. That's all I could really say about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you were rich in life, it makes sense that, if you don't want to worry about something, you can just buy it. If I don't know what in life would be equivalent to a third overall pick, if I don't know, some good insurance or whatever, I don't know, but in the NFL you can't just say, I don't want to worry about who's going to draft what, so I'm going to trade up from 12 to 3 and I don't care what it takes for me to get there if I'm getting a quarterback. That's just lazy in my mind. I agree, you should probably just trade up to 7 or something like that, and then, or at least decide who you want and then figure out about trading. If you because if you actually decided on Jones or Lance, there's just no way they're going to not be there at, one of them's not going to be there at 7. And even if somehow they weren't, then you can just trade up from 7 if you really wanted to, during the draft or something like that. Trading up from 12 to 3, I just don't see it. I don't think Jones would be having this massive rise in the draft order if the Niners didn't do it. So I still think if the Niners didn't trade up, Jones would be rumored in that probably 10 to 15 range. I just don't like the trade, and how much better are these guys going to be than Garoppolo in the first 2 years, and then after that, maybe they'll be better than Garoppolo, but maybe not. I don't like it. I don't know. I just don't like it at all. Even if they turn out well, I just don't think they handled it correctly, because I just don't like the trade up from 12 to 3, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if it works out, there's still questions you could ask about, trading up in the draft for them, and also just everything that's been going on. But it really needs to work out, honestly, because again, this team can make a Super Bowl. I mean, we saw it 2 years ago with Garoppolo. It's the same team, and you would have rather Garoppolo or Jones or Lance, whoever you want at quarterback. So this team still has the capability of making a Super Bowl, even with whatever they do in this draft. So it really does need to work out for the next, not even just this year, but the next couple years, obviously, when you're drafting a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick. So it's a big risk. That's what they're taking. If they're at 7 and they were doing this, it's still a risk, but it's not as big of a risk. But at 3, you really need to hit it. And I'm just not sure if Jones or Lance. I think Lance possibly could be down the line if he's on a good team, which it seems like the Niners would be in the future. But it's still a big risk between Lance or Jones as your quarterback.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I guess other news, there was a tweet that I want to say the Chargers tweeted out, and it was deleted by the Chargers' social media Twitter account. But it was talking about a trade, and I think they said, I'll try to put the tweet up somewhere on the screen, but I believe it said like, we're up or whatever. Who are we drafting or something like that? But they traded with the Giants. They traded from 13 to 11. They gave up 13, obviously, and they gave up pick 77, which is like a mid-third rounder.
Yeah.
And the Giants got the Chargers got 11. So that was a trade. I'm not exactly sure. To me, that just feels like a draft day trade, and I'm not exactly sure why it's happening. It just, you know what I mean? Like I don't know who you're looking to get if you're trading up from 13 to 11. That you need to trade up 13 to 11 like now, and that you couldn't just like wait and see what happens on draft day. Because I think anything that's like 2 spots, I just think it's hard to kind of like predict that you should trade up 2 spots for this guy and that you can get him there and not 13. I guess to me that seems like it's a draft day trade. It's not. I don't hate the trade for either team, I guess.
I was gonna say, especially for the Chargers, where it's not like they're trading up for a quarterback. They're not trading up for 2 spots where they think like a quarterback's going to be taken. They obviously have Herbert, so obviously they need offensive line, cornerback. Do they think a cornerback's not going to be there? Think Slater's not going to be there, or I'm not exactly sure what a trade with the Giants, because they're kind of 2 teams that are in similar situations, kind of in position needs. So it's definitely a weird trade if that actually does happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the Chargers are trading with the Giants, you may think, well, the Chargers want like somebody like Slater, and they don't want the Giants to take Slater. Well, I just feel I feel like if the Giants are willing to trade out of 11 to go to 13 and take pick 77, that they're really not dying to take Slater. They're dying to take somebody a little bit later. So I'd assume the Giants are probably going to end up, if they stay at 13, my guess would be they take somebody who probably wasn't assumed to go 13. I could be wrong on that. I mean, I could be, but I don't think they're going to take a Waddle or a Smith. Maybe I'm wrong.
If they were to trade down to 13?
Well, they did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not.
Okay, sorry. You're right.
Official. I mean, that was just a tweet that got deleted.
Right.
So.
I mean, to me, at this
point, it does seem
know.
like it's going to happen, and for the team social media to do that, you'd kind of think it would happen, but I don't know. I mean, if it does happen, I feel like they probably still would take Waddle or Smith, whoever's there, depending on what the Eagles do, because obviously the Chargers aren't going to take a wide receiver, so you're thinking they could, but I'd be surprised. I mean, you have Williams and Allen. There's not a need at wide receiver for them. So if they were to trade up to 11, the Giants could be, we could move 2 spots back. We'd rather get Smith or Waddle. I mean, assuming the Eagles take one of them, you at least get one of the 2, and you get a 3rd-round pick. I mean, I don't see the need in it, but I guess if you really think that your guy's still going to be there at 13, I guess you might as well do it. You get a 3rd-round pick. But it's still a weird trade if that were to happen, honestly. Because it seems like the Chargers at 13 could get their guy at 11. The Giants at 11 could get their guy at 13. And, it's almost a trade that doesn't make sense, honestly.
I understand the Giants trading down from 11 to 13 if their guy's still going to be available at 13. I'm interested to see who the Chargers are going to take if this trade happens, because who are they going to take 11 at 11 that wasn't there at 13? If the Giants are looking at Waddle or Smith, then the Chargers would have been fine because they just take Slater at 13.
Unless Slater the Eagles, they may take Slater, because obviously they still need offensive line. I don't think they would, but maybe they're afraid of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a small trade, but it's an interesting trade. It's the weirdest thing too. I just don't. Why is the Chargers social media tweeting something out before like?
And there was no sources. No one said anything about it. So maybe it was just a social the intern at the Chargers messed up or something. But
yeah, I don't know. But that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of a real trade, Orlando Brown got traded to the Chiefs.
That is yeah.
Obviously, he was the right tackle with the Ravens. He wants to be a left tackle. That's why he wanted to get traded, because the Ravens have Ronnie Stanley at left tackle. So the Ravens traded Brown to the Chiefs for I think it was a 1st-round pick this year, the 31 overall, a 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick, as well as a 5th-round pick in 2022. Yep. So three draft picks in this draft, and for Orlando Brown.
Yep, 31, 94, and 136. So you were
Yep.
right. First, third, fourth, and then a fifth next year. I think that's a lot. I really think that's a lot. I actually don't. I think people are gonna like this trade from the Chiefs' perspective. I actually am not a big fan, and I think Orlando Brown's a great player, and I think he's a guy that can be a Pro Bowler for the next however long, 5, 10 years. But with 31, 94, and 136 and a fifth in 2022, to me, I take a tackle that I like at 31. And I mean, I use those other picks for whatever, but you could use those picks for whatever. I value having that rookie contract, and you're trading him, and you get 1 year of his not huge contract, and then you got to pay him after. And to me, that's really unfortunate, because I mean, the greatest thing about the draft is being able to get these awesome players on just really, really team friendly deals, and having to trade Orlando Brown, what's going to be probably top 5 left tackle money, if not top 1. That really sucks, because you're already paying Tooney. I believe you're paying Kelsey and Hill as well now. I could be wrong, but you're gonna have to regardless. I mean, those are people you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay people on the defense. You paid Chris Jones. You're obviously paying Mahomes. Mahomes took a little bit of a pay cut, but he's not taking a substantial pay cut. There's gonna be people you have to pay, and some people are gonna you're gonna have to draft some people from the draft that are on team friendly deals. And to me, it makes sense. Like, 31 is still a first round pick. Like, that's a high pick. You can easily get, your franchise left tackle
Yeah, I
at
mean,
31.
there's a lot of people you can get at the end of the draft. I mean, obviously the Ravens have done it with Lamar, Patrick Queen last year. The Chiefs did it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year also. So, yeah, you can definitely get guys there. They did say the Chiefs are getting Baltimore's second-round pick this year, number 58 overall, and a sixth-rounder in 2022. So at least, I guess, compensates a little bit. You at least get a second-round pick this year. But, yeah, I feel like obviously they're going to have to pay him, and he's going to want close to top, left tackle money, which is a lot of money. No matter for left tackles. So yeah, you're going to be paying a lot of people a lot of money. It obviously works out if you win another 1 to 2 Super Bowls at the least, I'd probably say. So as long as that happens, I don't think the Chiefs or their fans really care what happens after that. But yeah, you probably could get a guy, a solid left tackle at the 31th pick, or even in the second or third round. You could probably get a guy who's just solid. He's not great, but he's not terrible. But clearly, I mean, Brown's still only 25. They said he didn't allow a sack or quarterback pressure and a quarterback hit or sack last year at left tackle. Obviously, it's a different offense with Lamar. He's running a lot more, so it's kind of hard to sack him. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Chiefs. Look, I think they saw the Super Bowl last year and realized that they just need as much offensive line help as they can. Obviously, injuries were a part of that last year, but it's definitely a move where you probably didn't have to trade for him, and you could have got someone who's less less valuable than him, but still solid. So I don't know. I guess I think it's something that in the next 3 seasons, we'll kind of see how it works out.
I don't think there's no way it can be an absolute. Well, okay, it could, but I don't think this can be an absolutely horrible trade for the Chiefs, because you're still getting a Pro Bowl left tackle, but I don't think it's a great trade for the Chiefs, just because you're going to have to pay this guy top 5 left tackle money. And while he's great, you probably could have gotten a guy who maybe not be as good as Orlando Brown off the bat and at 31, but a guy that is going to be just as good or close to as good as Orlando Brown at 31, and you get to pay him basically nothing, and you have him team control for 5 years. That to me just sounds so much better. Obviously, there's a greater potential to whiff on pick 31 or pick whatever, but still, to me, that's the route I would go down. Maybe they just don't like any of the left tackles at around that 31 range, and they're like, I don't know if I like any of the tackles at 31, and I'm not sure that I like any of the tackles in rounds 2 through 4 or whatever. But if this is a deep tackle draft, which people have said, and I'm not a left tackle expert by any means, but if this is a deep left tackle draft, there's no reason to not. You could legitimately have just taken a left tackle at 31 and then taken one at 136. I mean, if you're really scared about it, do what the Redskins did or the football team did in 2012, which was draft RG3, and I know that was pick 2, but draft RG3 and then draft Kirk Cousins in round 4.
Yeah.
You could do that. I mean, I think it's a lot to give up. Getting pick 58 is cool. Um, that kind of makes up for giving up 94 and 136, definitely, if not more so than that. But still, it's a lot to give up for a guy that you're gonna have to pay off the bat. Is it worth it? Maybe, but could you have got? We'll see. I mean, we'll see in
Yeah.
5 years if at pick 31 you could have gotten a guy that's close to as good or just as good as Orlando Brown, then I think it wasn't a good trade. But even then, as long as Orlando Brown just plays like a Pro Bowl left tackle,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not going to be a trade that people look back and say this was horrible. It's just kind of like a, did you have to pay the guy immediately type of thing.
Yeah, if he's a multiple-time Pro Bowler and still one of the top left tackles in the league, it's not going to matter. The only way it hurts the Chiefs is if he just plays bad or he gets injured or he plays well this season, he gets the big money, and then he starts playing bad. But I mean, we'll see if that happens again. I wouldn't expect that to happen. It just, I don't know, that offense is kind of hard not to be good on that offensive line, honestly. So, and obviously when you're the talent that he is, it's kind of hard also at that point. But yeah, it's I guess it's one of the bigger trades that have happened so far in the offseason. But even another trade that could possibly happen, and this was actually talked about today, was Julio Jones possibly getting traded from the Falcons. I think a report came out saying that teams have called about Julio Jones because of the Falcons' cap space, and obviously Julio signed that big contract, and he's owed. Peter King said this. He said if Julio Jones is traded after June 1st, the Falcons save $15 million against the cap. But if they trade him before June 1st, it would be a $23 million cap hit. So, it's definitely something to look at if you're the Falcons. Obviously, Julio's a great player, but it's a wide receiver. It's not, for a team like the Falcons, they're not going to make the playoffs most likely. So what exactly are you doing with this big money on your team at a wide receiver position, which isn't as valuable as other positions? So it's a possibility that they could trade him, and if it were to happen, it would clearly happen after June 1st. So it's just a thought, though. So what do you think about that?
I mean, the Falcons have to decide whether or not they actually want to be a good team in the future, because you've got a bunch of aging players, and you still have you've got some young players for sure, but I mean, Julio is up there where, his trade value every day that passes, essentially after June 1st, he's just going to get less and less valuable. So you either trade him or you don't. If you don't trade him, then I think you're just still going kind of all in on that core. Not necessarily all in, but you're still kind of trying to compete with that Matt Ryan, Julio core. But if you decide that you are just kind of done with that core, then you can trade Julio after June 1st. And then that opens up the possibility of taking a quarterback at 4 for the Falcons.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the other way. If they were to take a quarterback at 4, I feel like you may almost keep him. Possibly.
You're talking about Matt Ryan or Julio?
I was talking about Julio.
Okay, go on.
I was just thinking if they were to take a quarterback at 4, which I don't think they will. I think they'd probably take Pitts or just trade out. I think if they were to take a quarterback, you'd almost want to keep him at least for 1 year. And I know his trade value would go down, which would definitely hurt. But you could always do like an Odell situation where they tried to have him they tried to keep him after that contract that he signed, and then they had to trade him. Obviously, there's different reasons for that, but it's kind of a similar situation. If they don't take a quarterback here at 4, I think they definitely trade him. I just think they almost, I don't know, I feel like it's the smarter move. I think they may try and keep this core together, but this core's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it's Ryan, who's 36, and Julio, who is obviously, he's obviously still really good, but he's not. He's just not the type of player that he was even a couple years ago, and I know that may be a criticism, but it's kind of true, especially with the injury concerns. So, and just obviously looking at this team as a whole. So, I actually kind of like I was saying, I look at it the other way, but either way, I think they will trade him in the next year. If it doesn't happen this offseason, it's going to happen next offseason, unless they draft a quarterback and he's just absolutely amazing and they're turned into a really good team again. But I see Julio getting traded rather this season or next season.
The odds for Julio's next team if he's traded, the Ravens are plus 250, Raiders are plus 300, Titans are plus 500, Pats are plus 700, Eagles are plus 900, and the Colts are plus 1,000. Who do you think, if he gets traded, what teams would you like or do you think he would go to? And then what do you think is the trade compensation for Julio? Like, I mean, does he get a first? You get a first out of Julio? He's 32. You're going to pay him. to me, I just don't know if he's worth a first. Maybe he is. I mean, he probably is, but he's been injured and he's 32. So I mean, what's your
Well, for team, I think the Ravens are definitely a possibility. I mean, they've been looking for a wide receiver this whole offseason for Lamar. I mean, obviously that's what they would love. I don't know about, obviously Julio would have no say in it, but, I don't think he'd really want to go to Baltimore where your quarterback really can't throw the ball. But I think the Ravens, Raiders, and Titans, I think those are three real possibilities. I think the Ravens probably would be first just because they've been looking for one. The Raiders, if they can get their quarterback situation figured out and it seems like their team is better than what the record shows. I think it's because their quarterback's holding them back in Carr. And I don't know what their answer to that even is anyways in the future, but that could definitely be a possibility, having him and Ruggs and Waller. That's a pretty good, top three if Ruggs can, stay healthy and be a down the field threat. And the Titans, I mean, I don't know if that would work out. I just don't know what, they would be able, I don't know if they would be able to pay him as a wide receiver, already paying Henry and Tannehill. I know you can somewhat kind of get out of those contracts, but I'd rather stay in probably. So yeah, I don't exactly know what. I think the Ravens would probably be the favorite, which is what you said. So
I mean, so if you're trading for Julio, how many years would you expect he's going to be a top? I mean, right now, what is he, a top? I would still have him in my top three. If he's healthy, I still think he's probably the best.
Healthy top three, yeah.
I still think he's probably one or two. I think Hill is up there as well. But, I mean, anyways.
And, I mean, Julio has an out after 2022. If not, then he's under contract for 2023, and then he's a free agent in 2024. So you're probably, whatever team trades for him, they're probably going to have to re-sign him to a pretty big contract.
I'm not sure that that's true. I don't think that's true. I mean, you have him for this season, the season after, right? So you have him for this and then two more.
Well, there's a potential out after 2022, which he may want. If he thinks he can get a bigger contract, yeah, he might do that. So it's.
Oh, I just sneezed.
Bless him. But I mean, just wide receivers. I mean, Odell got that huge contract from the Giants, and then what was it, a year or two later when he went to the Browns, he renegotiated his contract. So it's definitely a possibility that whoever team does trade for Julio, he's going, because, by the time 2024 reaches, he's going to be 35. He's not going to get a big contract. So he might as well try and renegotiate after 2022 or even after, going into this season if he does get traded. So it's definitely a possibility that whatever team trades for him is going to have to pay a lot of money for him to, be on the team for another 3 years.
Out of the Ravens, Raiders, Titans, Pats, Eagles, and Colts, I mean, you want to go to a team that's a contender if you're trading for Julio. Why would the Titans? I mean, I guess the Titans think they're contenders. Do I think they're contenders, though, even with Julio? No. I think the Ravens are definitely contenders with Julio. And I don't love Lamar. I don't really love the Ravens roster, but still, I mean, if you add Julio to that, I think you're definitely contenders. And I guess the Titans kind of are, but I just don't believe in them. The Pats, nah. Eagles, Colts, I think that's the Colts, yeah, but Eagles, I mean, you're not the Eagles. Why?
No,
There's no point. There's no point.
I think Ravens and Colts would honestly be the two best destinations. I don't think the Raiders or the Titans are true contenders, and I don't think getting Julio makes them true contenders anyways. I think they have problems with quarterback, at least for one team, and then defense for both teams. So the Ravens, yeah, if Lamar can start being a better passer, then definitely. And the Colts, obviously, we have Wentz, so you're going to have a lot of money on the book with him, but if you were to get Julio in that offense with Hilton, who's obviously not the same player he was, Pittman, who was a rookie last season, then Taylor's your running back with an offensive line, and obviously that defense that they have too, that'd be a pretty good team. That'd be, they're probably already one of the top teams in the AFC. If you get Julio, I think that makes a big difference because I think their offense is just that more explosive. And it gives Wentz a true number one option, which he really, I know he said Ertz, but as tight end, it's kind of hard for your tight end to be your true number one. Obviously with Kelsey and Gronk, those are a little different than Ertz, but to have Julio as his true number one option, I mean, that's pretty valuable for someone like Wentz.
No, I agree. I think the Colts at plus 1,000 are, I think that's your best odds. Now, I'm not sure exactly what you'd have to give up for Julio.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the Odell trade. It's somewhat similar in that they both got big contracts and they're both top wide receivers. Now, obviously, the age different. It's a different age gap, but the Giants, they traded. It was. I'm trying to find the exact details of the trade. It was. Let me see if I can get it. The Giants will receive a first-round pick, the number 17 overall in 2019. The Browns, third-round pick, number 95, and Kevin Zeitler, right guard, and Jabril Peppers. So Kevin Zeitler is not on the Giants anymore, but Peppers still is. So they gave up a first, a third, and 2 players. The Browns. Now I think a trade for Julio probably wouldn't have 2 players in it, but
You're probably giving up a first.
I think
so.
you're giving up a first. If it's this year, I think you're giving up a first. If it's next year, I don't think you are.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. If you're asking me, would you rather have Odell at 25, 26-ish, or Julio at 32 for the next 3 years? I would still take Julio.
I think I would too.
So that, and I know Julio has the potential out after 2022, but I mean that means that the first, a third, and 2, we'll say starters, and one that was, I think Peppers was like a second or third. He was a quality starter with potential at the time. Zeitler was kind of just more of like your average starting guard, but I mean, I think you could get something like that. Now Julio's been injured. That's a key component, but I mean, Odell Beckham was also a diva still at the time, and I'm not sure if that really factored into the trade consideration, but yeah, I think the Falcons could definitely consider trading Julio. To me, I probably do it just because I know I'm not a contender, but from an ownership perspective, you want to sell tickets, especially after COVID and all that. I'm not sure if they actually do it or not, but to me, I just think you do, especially if it's the Colts, if you can get their first, a third next year, and then you get to pick 1 to 2 of their good starters, or just throw an extra third or something in there. I mean, that's a lot. And I think the Falcons would definitely consider it, and I think the Colts would too, because I don't think the Colts need like drafts. They don't need draft capital right now. They can afford to basically trade away their first and a third and maybe 1 or 2 starters and get somebody like Julio.
Yeah. And again, the only thing is that it would have to be after June 1st.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be this draft unless, I mean, it'd be kind of weird, I guess, but I guess technically they could say, like, we'll do this trade is technically confirmed, but it won't happen until after June 1st, but, like, you just pick the guy that we want. I guess they can do that, even though it's a long time between June 1st and now, but it would, I mean...
I don't think we've ever really seen something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we've ever seen something that far in advance, but it would probably happen right before the season or just going, this time next season, right before the draft, but... Yeah, I think it's still a possibility that it would probably be a first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick, but probably a first-round pick, honestly. I guess depending on the team and where their pick actually is, and like a third-round pick, maybe a fourth-round pick. One of the 2, and then probably a player or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, from what I don't know. I think the Colts, that's a move you could make, because I think their biggest weakness might just be wide receiver. I mean, I can't even trying to think. I mean, you have Pittman that you drafted a couple years ago.
You have Pittman and
just
Hilton.
Signed Hilton,
honestly.
who's like, Hilton was almost just a guy that just, I mean, he was on the free agent market for a good amount of time, and
he was going to leave.
Yeah.
And he only came back because
nobody wanted him.
Yeah, because they wanted to go back to the Colts. So, and again, he's not the player he was 5 years ago. So you don't have a number 1. You barely have a number 2, honestly.
I don't know that you do.
So
Pittman has to be really good.
Pittman's more of a slot guy. He definitely wasn't bad last season. But I don't think he's ever going to be like a close to 1,000-yard receiver. I think he'd probably be like an 800 guy. But getting a Julio, that'd make that team just a lot better. I think that would be, if they were to get Julio, they'd be on. It's obviously the Chiefs' number 1 team, but I think the Bills and the Colts, I think it'd be them 2 right behind the Chiefs, I would say.
If the Colts, the Bills, but
I still like the Bills. I mean, I think the division is definitely tougher, so it's going to be hard for them, but I still like them as a team. I think if they were to get into the playoffs, I think they'd just be tough. If Allen can continue being the MVP that he showed he was in 2020.
I think they'd be a tough out 100%, but I still don't know that they win that division. And I'm biased, but I think the Pats can actually win that division.
I think I think if their quarterback situation is good, I think the Pats definitely could win the division, but even if the Bills are a wild card team, I think they're just a scary team. If Allen is still going to be like an MVP type player, if he's still going to be a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the league like he was last year. If I'm not sure then obviously they're not as big of a threat. But
yeah, I think Allen's somewhere in that top 10. I don't know that he's a top 6 quarterback. We had to talk about that earlier, and at least from last regular season, he was definitely top 6 in my mind. Is he going to be able to replicate that this season? I'm not sure. He's better than somebody like Tannehill, though, and Tannehill's in those top 10 discussions sometimes. So I think he's definitely a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's unless you have anything else left.
No, I mean, the draft is this Thursday, the first round at least. So I mean, we'll have an episode Thursday, and I mean, I guess we may not have an episode Thursday, but when we're going to do the draft, that's going to be the episode if anything. So yeah, I guess just look out for that. The first round we'll do probably until the Patriots pick. I would say, like if we're gonna live stream it, we'll probably just do to the Patriots pick. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. We'll see how our mocks are. I mean, our mocks may be perfect, they may be completely wrong. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate everybody who stayed to the end. Stay tuned for stuff. Feel free to check out things in the description. Should be new content coming from the Clips channel and the other social medias. We'll try to keep up to date and all that. But yeah, appreciate everybody who stayed to the end. So goodbye.